Hi, it is Standard Event Saturday. Each week I ask you all what you'd be interested in seeing me try out in a standard event, and I go ahead and give it a whirl. This week we're going to be playing Rakdos Sacrifice. If you're unfamiliar with standard events, they are located under the Events tab, and their way to earn gems in game. You pay either 2,500 gold or 375 gems, and keep playing until you reach 3 losses. Usually it's best to spend gold so you can save your gems to buy the Mastery Pass, and you get rewards according to the number of wins you get. You want to try and get 3 wins because that is when you break even. You get 200 gems and a pack is worth 200 gems in the store. That's 400 gems of value, which is slightly more than you pay to play, and your payouts get even better though as you win more. So let's go ahead and talk about the deck and see how we can do. Sorry, this is a little bit more jank than usual. So Rakdos Sacrifice, we wanted to look at it on Untapped here, look at the archetype on stats, and see what some of the highest win rate decks are playing. Usually these like less than 200 win rate or 200 matches decks I have a little less confidence in, but it's still good to see what is working in them. You can see the very first list was playing a lot of unique cards, but the second list here is playing Shieldred and Immersturm Predator, which are some very interesting additions. I think we all know that Shieldred is a very strong card, but Immersturm Predator is a cool card because it can sacrifice things and it can gain indestructible. So it's this flying creature that can get indestructible, and it can exile cards from graveyards, so it actually adds a little bit of graveyard hate to your deck here, which seems very nice. And then a lot of the other lists are very similar to what we've seen before and what we've played before on the channel. Another thing to note is the different lands as well as removal these decks are playing. You'll see that in the removal slot they are playing Momentum Breaker. Quite a few of these are playing 2 copies of Momentum Breaker. Momentum Breaker is a new enchantment from Aether Drift, which when it enters, the opponent either discards a card, or they have to sacrifice a creature, and if they can't, or creature or vehicle, and if they can't, they discard a card. It starts your engines, and then you can sacrifice it to gain life equal to your speed. So that is an interesting addition. But another card in terms of Rakdos Sacrifice that you would think would work well is Bloodghast. But if you're looking at the stats here, it shows up in much lower win rate list here. But I think it still has quite a bit of potential because this 2-drop, you can get it back from your graveyard for free if you play out a land. And so that's kind of one of the cards that I wanted to build around in my version. There's one other card that I was thinking about playing, which was Gastral Thrill Roller. It's a 3-mana vehicle, 4/2 with trample. When it enters, it animates itself, and you can get back from your graveyard by discarding a card. Ultimately didn't end up playing that, but yeah, here's a Momentum Breaker. And these are just some of the untapped lists and some of the stats, just for reference for what we're going to be playing here. I ended up building a slightly different one. You'll see a lot of these decks are playing these very cheap creatures and trying to get value out of them. Alright, here is what I'm playing. We're playing 23 lands, so we're playing slightly higher curve. We're not playing a bunch of those 1-drops. We're more built around making use of Bloodghast. And then we have some better finishers, I feel like, in Shieldred and Immersturm Predator. In terms of removal, you'll see Final Vengeance, Torch of the Tower, and Slagstorm. We're playing Slagstorm, which is pretty unique. We're not playing our 1-drops, or we're not playing the 1-drops in part because we're playing Slagstorm. I ended up playing Rakdos Sacrifice on the ranked ladder, like these older versions, and when I played against Selesnya bunnies, I found that I got completely overwhelmed. We are playing a lot of 1-for-1 removal, so a deck that goes so wide can be problematic. So I think the addition of Slagstorm should hopefully help us. We're playing Slagstorm over anything else because it doesn't hit our Planeswalker, which is also nice. So Bloodghast, this is 2-drop, 2/1, can't block, has haste, the opponent has 10 or less life, and then when a land enters the battlefield enters the battlefield, we can return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. This card you don't really want to cast, you want to be able to get it for free. So we want to play cards that we can use to discard. And so you'll see that we have a list of Fear of Missing Out, and we also have 2 Lilianas to help with that. Sorry, this is so janky. I recorded this entire video. My recording software forgot that I had a mic connected, And so we're just watching it back and I'm recording a voiceover. But yeah, fear of missing out, Liliana help us discard the Bloodghast. And we're also playing a discard package. I really like the addition of Momentum Breaker. We're pairing it with the Hopeless Nightmare that the decks already want to play. And this can hate on the opponent's hand along with Liliana, which works really well for discarding Bloodghast and eating away at our opponent's hands. So yeah, that's kind of the discard package in the deck. And then yeah, Liliana, just good value engine. Fear of missing out. We're not playing a ton of creatures to get use of that delirium, but it works well regardless, because when we can get that delirium, we can also double trigger our Urabrask Forge, which we are playing. Urabrask Forge, very nice. It triggers at the beginning of your combat, and so the additional combat that you get with Fear of Missing Out triggers it again, so you get another oil counter, another Phyrexian. You can untap your big Phyrexian potentially, which is nice. And then in terms of card draw, we're playing Disturbing Mirth, which is quite nice. It just works really well in these sacrifice decks. And yeah, we have Shieldred, Immerstorm Predator, and Forge as our finishers. And then for our lands, we're playing a lot of the standard lands. We're playing one Restless Fence, and then we're not playing Murex in this deck actually. We're playing Fountain Port because it's nice to be able to sacrifice the Urabrask Forge tokens to draw cards. And I just found the Murex it feels like it's a little bit less value than the Fountain Port, where we can draw cards with it and we can also still make 1/1s with. So that is the deck. Let's see how we can do. Hopefully it'll be all right. I mean, I already know the results, and there's a reason why I'm recording a voiceover, because presumably this went pretty good and I want to salvage what happened. So further ado, hopefully we're getting into the matches. All right, here we go. First match, opponent goes first. That's never great to see. His opening hand is all right because we have Hopeless Nightmare at plus Fear of Missing Out, so we can discard and draw to try and find an additional land. Our mana sources are a little bit hinged because we have Fountain Port, so we don't have the double black or double red for Liliana or Slagstorm, but all right. Meticulous Archive, Surveilling. This is probably Azorius Control, or it could be Oculus, or it could be Omniscience Reanimator. So that is a signal to us to be a little bit worried about if they're reanimating things. So we need to find our Immerstorm Predator if we can, and hopefully get that down fast enough to hate on the graveyard. Afar's Dispersal tells us that it's probably Omniscience Reanimator. Chart a course, draw, discard. I don't think we want to play out the Liliana Veil because making them discard cards isn't really going to matter if they just combo off. So we need to stay aggressive, I think. And so discarding that to try and just get a land for our Forge. Temporary lockdown, that kind of blows because we lose our Fear of Missing Out to start attacking in. But we do get a land, so we can play our Forge. And then next turn we can play Disturbing Mirth and try and sacrifice our Forge token to draw more cards. No Omniscience in the graveyard yet. Another Meticulous Archive gives them another Surveil, and it's the Omniscience. Yikes. Alright. Well, that was their land drop for turn. Stock up means they're going to be able to find, or like dig pretty deep to try and find their reanimation spell, which is really scary because we don't have our Immerstorm Predator yet. So we can exile their graveyard. So it is really up to if the opponent has the card. We're just going to have to hope. We'll attack in, get our damage, and then we'll sacrifice this Forge token. Just a little free sack fodder to draw some cards. And unfortunately, Fountain Port really pinning our mana here. We can't play our second Disturbing Mirth, or pinching our mana. So do they have it? If they have it, we won't scoop until we see the invasion of Arcavios. That's really where the deck just doesn't falter. As soon as they get the invasion of Arcavios, they just pretty much have the win con unlocked. I guess we could try and Torch of the Tower, the Omniscience, but the opponent probably has a counter spell, I would guess. But I think that was let's see if they have the invasion. If they have a counter spell, they can cast it for free and we can't pay for the tax. So I scooped a little bit early there, which is a little sad, but because we could have torched the tower and maybe the opponent didn't have it. But yeah, you go first. That is good to see. Hopeless Nightmare to Disturbing Mirth into Urabrask Forge. This hand is awesome. We can start by eating away the opponent's hand, which is nice. We can also play Momentum Breaker if we need to destroy a creature. So really, really solid hand. What is the opponent playing? They have a Johnny Avatar. They have standard sleeve, or like just normal sleeves. Sees the Secrets. Mountain. Bolt Wave. So some sort of burn. A mono red. That would be my guess, but we'll hold on to the Momentum Breaker, I guess. That way we can remove whatever they do end up playing. Draw 2, we found some more lands. Slagstorm. I don't think we quite need it. We have removal in our Momentum Breaker and Final Vengeance, and we're probably going to run out of Forge next turn, so we should be able to get full value out of those removal spells. It looks like the opponent is playing blue and red. So I guess it's, is it burn or is it prowess? I think we run out another land. I think we can afford to run out the Verge because we can turn them on next turn. We don't really need, our mana is pretty fine, especially since we're just playing 2 colors, and these Verges tap for black, which is I think the majority color in our deck. We have slightly more black pips than red pips. Opponent plays out an island. They have 3 mana. Burst Lightning. Alright, Slick Sequence. That's quite a few burn spells. We're down to 10, so hopefully they don't have the remainder of the damage to go all the way. Momentum Breaker could eat away at their hand, but we could just start the Forge. I don't think they'll get us this next turn. And then next turn we can play Momentum Breaker, sacrifice it, and gain 2 life. So as long as the opponent doesn't have 10 damage here, I think we're doing okay. Alright, Swift Water Cliffs. They go up another 1, but these Forges, they keep going. What does the opponent have? Is it going to be like another burn spell? I'm wondering if the opponent is playing like a Curse Recording deck where they can copy up their spells. But it looks like it's more so going to be, Izzet Spellslinger. Just multicast spells and get value out of like Slick Sequence, and I guess the Razzle Dazzler. That's a fun name. I think we'll just Slagstorm, and then we can play Momentum Breaker to get rid of the last card in their hand, and then these Forges should be able to get us to speed 2. Thankfully, in this voiceover or audio recording, we don't have to hear the speed up sound, because I feel like I don't think I've heard a single person who's enjoyed the way the speed sounds for Start Your Engines. Opponent looks like they're playing a Melik deck where they get this massive creature based off of the number of 2 times the number of spells in your graveyard, or your instant and sorceries in your graveyard, I think it is. Well, Forges go. We have Final Vengeance for removal, and we can gain 3 life at instant speed with the Momentum Breaker. I don't think there's any reason to hold lands in our hand, because even if we drew a Fear of Missing Out, we can still discard the swamp that we have in our hands now. Sometimes it's relevant to hold lands for activating your Bloodghasts, but we haven't seen any, so not really relevant in this game. And Momentum Breaker, we can make them discard their last card and then swing in, and that should be lethal. What did the opponent have? It looks like it was Scorching Shot, which is sorcery speed removal. So we'll be able to swing in and finish them off. GG. Alright. Synthwave Beats. You go first. This hand seems okay. We have removal with Torch the Tower. Well, we don't necessarily have a ton of red sources, so we'll have to play out the Restless Vents if we want to make use of the Torch the Tower. Opponent plays out Spyglass Siren. That makes me want to think that they're playing the mere mid-range, that they could be playing something else, like Izzet Pirates. But All right. Okay. No, I remember what this is. I'm trying not to spoil what it is, and I'm trying to think how I was thinking while I was playing the games, but Inti gives away that the opponent cares about discarding cards, so it's either Izzet discard deck or it's a Jeskai Oculus deck, which we will find out here shortly. We play out Liliana, get rid of the Inti so they don't get any value out of it. Play out another Inti, we have the Torch the Tower to deal with it, and we can discard the Bloodghast to our Liliana and then play the land to get it back, which is super cool. We can also play out Momentum Breaker to get rid of the Inti instead of the Torch the Tower. This allows us to hold the Torch of the Tower for removal later, which is nice. We can also remove it on their turn, or remove something on their turn with it. Opponent discarded an Oculus, so a little concerning, but did I mess up the order? I think I messed up the order to get my Bloodghast. Yeah, I forgot about that. Please excuse me. I did not mean to make that mistake, but can't fix what is already done. Alright, I think we just go Restless Vent, cycle away this Sulphur Springs. Opponent has mana open, but and then we can discard we have 4 lands. I don't know if we need more lands, but I guess I pitched Torch the Tower because Final Vengeance can hit anything, which is it would be problematic if the opponent got an Oculus and we weren't able to get rid of it. We drew a Hopeless Nightmare, so we'll go ahead and play that. And we're not going to actually take up Liliana, or well, I guess we can take up Liliana because we can always just use the sacrifice mode to edict away their creature, which is nice. But I guess that was a mistake because if the Oculus comes back, it's going to manifest Dread. Well, I won't discard quite yet because I can first play out my card, and then no cards in hand makes this discard free. I could have activated Restless Fence, but it's okay because we're probably going to want to sacrifice Hopeless Nightmare to set up the top of our deck anyways. Alright, scrying to Bloodghast. I don't think we quite need. Predator is nice because we can sacrifice, and we can exile cards from their graveyard, so since they're a graveyard deck, it seems pretty nice. Not sure if I want another Bloodghast because we already have one, and you would need to hit land drops to get it back for free, so we'll roll the dice in terms of what we draw, and we'll go ahead and play out our creature and then make them discard. They don't have anything, so we just get free loyalty onto our Liliana. We're at risk of ultimating soon, and if the opponent goes to reanimate, we can tap our Immerstorm Predator to go ahead and oh, they're going for Bloodghast. We can just sacrifice it so they don't exile it, and exile their Oculus. GG. Graveyard hit. 2 and 1. You go first. This is another pretty good hand. We have Hopeless Nightmare, turn 1, and we have good mana, it seems. I mean, a little bit heavy on the pain lands, but we have a lot of interaction, and then we have Fear of Missing Out to hopefully help us dig a little bit deeper and put a creature on board. Opponent thinking about what they want to discard. Alright, opponent discards a mountain. They have a Chandra Avatar, so maybe they're mono red. Wouldn't be surprised. Another mountain comes down, and then a Reckless Lackey, so they're probably Goblins if I had to guess. Because, well, Reckless Lackey is a pretty nice 1-drop for Goblins through Blackcleave Cliffs, so we can play that out. Dodging our pain lands. We want to play Fear of Missing Out or Momentum Breaker, or we could just Torch the Reckless Lackey. I guess I wanted to Torch so I could scry by sacrificing the Hopeless Nightmare to try and set up the top of my deck, so that we can find something a little bit more useful, because we have a lot of lands in hand. And opponent's going to be playing Burnout Bastronaut. We don't really want to give them speed for the turn, so we're just going to sacrifice or get rid of the Reckless Lackey. Slagstorm seems nice for a deck that's playing Goblins and is planning to go wide. So we'll go ahead and keep that. Keep Hopeless Nightmare, I think, yeah. So I guess that's just a card that we can play, which is nice. I would have probably gotten rid of it in hindsight here, but Momentum Breaker gets rid of that creature, and the board is clear. Opponent, though, stuck on 2 lands, it seems, at the moment. Just keeps running out creatures and keeps drawing them, so I guess we'll have to keep removing them or something else. Go ahead and make the opponent discard and burn them for a little. And then I can play Slagstorm, but it doesn't seem quite worth it. We can play Fear of Missing Out and cycle the springs, and hopefully we draw into something a little bit more relevant. We also have a chance to just draw into another land, and so pretty much a side grade overall. We get Torch, which is nice, so we can remove more creatures. Though probably would be preferring to draw into a little bit more of an engine card here with like a Forge or a Liliana or Disturbing Mirth, so we can draw more cards. Go ahead, play the Torch. We can sacrifice the Hopeless Nightmare to dig deeper, though I guess we can wait until the opponent's turn. So not, they are playing green, so they could have something that gives hexproof, so that is a concern, but I think we're willing to roll the dice. It would kind of suck though if the opponent managed to stop us from resolving our Torch, but at the same time, it's probably fine. Well, when we sacrifice the Hopeless Nightmare, that scry should resolve pretty much regardless. Do we want the opponent? Do we actually go for the removal, or we just plan to use the Slagstorm for maximum value? I think we save the Torch and we let them come through, and then we Slagstorm for all of their creatures. Alright, the opponent goes up to 3 speed. That's fine as long as they don't hit 4. I think we're okay as long as they don't hit 4 if we can avoid it. Fountain Port. It's nice because we can sacrifice or like make tokens and sacrifice them to draw cards, but I think we just prefer to draw something with slightly more value. We'll go ahead and attack before we Slagstorm, so we might be able to get to full speed. Opponent doesn't block, and so we go ahead, hit 4 speed, that's full speed, play out a land, cast the Slagstorm to remove all the creatures and reset the board. Board is clear, opponent has 3 cards, we have 1, so maybe not perfect, but Run about Horde Master, we don't really mind, but we can't torch the tower on their turn because we'd be activating our Pain Land, and that would give them full speed. So we wait, play out Bloodghast because why not? And then we can go ahead and torch the tower. The Horde Master, it will not get its death trigger because it is exiled. I could have sacrificed the Momentum Breaker, but I kind of wanted to keep it to try and see if I could gain some life with it. Alright, that is kind of annoying. So that has haste, and it can also be sacrificed to do 1 damage, so the opponent can get full speed here with this Firebrand. What does the opponent do? Go ahead and attack in and get their full speed that way. They have 1 mana open. I guess we'll sacrifice Momentum Breaker, just to make use of our mana. Because if we need to, we can sacrifice our Bloodghast. And it looks like that's what we'll be doing. We drew Disturbing Mirth. We'll sacrifice Bloodghast. You go ahead and draw 2. And another Bloodghast is nice. We can play out the land to get back our Bloodghast. And they have haste now because the opponent has less than 10 life. 19 to 9. Can we cross the finish line? We're doing the Bloodghast thing, where we just keep on getting it back. Opponent plays Sprouting Goblin Kick to go ahead and search up a basic land and put it in their hand. Opponent is on Gruul Goblins, which is the first time I've seen Gruul Goblins. A land, we'll hold on to that in case the opponent goes ahead and gets rid of our Bloodghast. We can play it later on to get our creatures back. Opponent thinking about blocking. Do they go for it? Opponent decides against it because we can just get it back most likely, so at least I think that's their reasoning. Down to 5 though. What do we need to draw? I think we need to draw something that can draw us more cards would be kind of ideal. I think at this point I was debating whether or not it's a good idea to play out the Verge or hold on to it, because in the deck list there are some cards, or it's good to hold on to it for the Bloodghast, but there are cards where it's like if it enters you have to discard a card. So for instance, the Fear of Missing Out, ultimately decide to keep it in hand so that we can play it and get back our Bloodghast. And well, we drew another land, so we can play out the Verge without too many troubles, though I kind of make a mistake of playing it out pre-combat. I should have waited till post-combat. So not perfect. What is the opponent going to do? Well, they surprise us with Goblin Surprise. They're able to kill both of our Bloodghast, but we do have another Swamp, so it doesn't matter too much because we'll get them back with haste next turn. We also get a spell out of the opponent's hand. They do have 2 creatures, so holding on to their board at the moment. They have a Vishkar's Raceway. Runvout Horde Master will pump up their creatures and make it so if a goblin dies, they can get exile the top card of their library and then get it back. Well, Bloodghast. This means if we play the Swamp and get them back, opponent is forced to block here, otherwise they die. They do get the Runvout Horde Master trigger, which is a little scary, but they go down to 1, presumably. Alright, down to 1. We're doing the Bloodghast thing. They get a Goblin though, which is unfortunate, and it's 1 with First Strike, so that's a really good blocker of Bloodghast, because well, Bloodghast can't ever really kill it. So that is a little bit problematic. If the opponent holds that back, we need to find some action. Hopeless Nightmare finishes off the opponent. We've already played 2 of them. That's what I was just checking. So it's not super likely that we find a Hopeless Nightmare, but what cards would be good to draw? Well, Disturbing Mirth, Fear of Missing Out would draw us a card. Besides that, like an Urabrask Forge wouldn't be too terrible. Some removal could be okay. Alright, Fear of Missing Out, that's pretty good hit off the top. Kind of wish I didn't tap my Sulphur Springs in case I need the red mana. But we'll play it out and we'll draw a card. Very nice. What do we draw? We're doing it, the Rakdos mid-range thing. Alright, we drew another Fear of Missing Out, which is awesome. Go ahead, tap Blackcleave Cliffs and a Swamp. We'll play it out and draw another card. We're going wide, which is nice. So I guess if we attack in this turn, we're gonna have an issue with Fanatical Firebrand can block and then sack to blow up the other attacker. We draw Disturbing Mirth, which is awesome, so we can sacrifice our other Disturbing Mirth to draw 2 cards. So we're gonna increase our odds of hitting that Hopeless Nightmare and just finishing the game. Manifest Red. What do we hit? I guess we'll put the Forge under. I don't really know. And we hit another Fear of Missing Out. Final Vengeance is nice because we can get rid of the Lackey potentially, but not ideal. Because they can also sacrifice it to its ability to draw a card to make a treasure for 3 mana, so... Well, I guess they can't do that with the Karplusan Forest being a pain land, so I guess that is the upside. We'll just cycle the Final Vengeance because I don't think it's super necessary, and I think we have better chance of hitting something that will just actually finish out the game. Alright, Bloodghast, we attack in. They do have the First Striker, and they have the Firebrand, which they can block and then sack with, which kind of is rough, but considering we might just hit a land and then we can get them back, I think it's worth just pushing. They also have can't block, so it's not like they're going to do anything on defense. Torch the Tower, we can get rid of their final blocker. We could get rid of the Lackey eventually, so. We can also sacrifice the Disturbing Mirth to manifest red and scry. Put a stop on my upkeep so that we can try and set up our draw. Opponent goes ahead and blocks with Fanatical Fiber and end the Lackey, which I don't think was necessary, but works. I think that our Blues Force is actually holding our opponent back here quite a bit. Did they find an answer for the board? We have a really wide board, so we should just be able to win through that. They play the Rolik, which is, I guess, a 3/3 with Menace, so only one more blocker, and I think that means we should be able to win, but definitely want to try and make sure we set up our draw to guarantee no funny business. But I guess, yeah, they have the Pain Land. I didn't really realize this at the time. I just wanted to make sure things were going to work out. I get rid of the 3/3 because it's just the biggest. And then, yeah, GG. That puts us at 3-1. Very nice. All right, opponent goes first. This hand is okay. Torch the Tower plus Momentum Breaker is pretty good. Removal Urabrask Forge is kind of our like win condition, I guess. Fear of Missing Out can help us draw. Mono red, that's scary. I think we have to get rid of that this turn just in case the opponent has a pump spell. Torch of the Tower only does 2. But thankfully it will exile the Heartfire hero. So we at least get to avoid the death trigger. Slagstorm is nice if the opponent plays out like a bunch of small creatures. And then we can blow them up. Emberheart Challenger, kind of annoying, but we can get rid of that with the Momentum Breaker. Slow down, opponent. Alright. We're kind of hoping the opponent plays out multiple creatures here. Heartfire Hero is nice. And then they didn't play out anything else, which is a little concerning. Do we run out the Fear of Missing Out, or do we run the Forge out to start applying pressure? I think I opted to play out the Forge because it starts pushing on the opponent. So it kind of puts a closing window on the game. Fear of Missing Out would be nice to have as a blocker, but it also can be easily removed or trampled over with a Monstrous Rage. So opponent has 2 mana open. Go ahead and swing in with our 1/1. Opponent shocks or lightning strikes our face. Ouch. How big is this Heartfire hero gonna go? Three mana open. Screaming Nemesis is problematic. I hate that card. Because that can stop us from gaining life with our Momentum Breaker, which was part of our plan here. And we can't Slagstorm it, so not good. Do we run out the Immerstorm Predator? Immerstrom. Yeah, Slagstorm's not very helpful here. We grab Torch the Tower, which we can blow up the Heartfire hero with, which is nice. We'll go ahead and swing in to increase our speed. Could hold up the Momentum Breaker and try and gain 3 life, but also we could get rid of this Heartfire hero by sacrificing this, and we can set up the top of our deck. And then hopefully the opponent, we just don't block the Screaming Nemesis, and hopefully they don't have lethal. Okay, no blocks. I don't think with 3 mana they have enough, because they could Lightning Strike, Monstrous Rage, but that's still only 9 damage, so first lightning on their Screaming Nemesis, and we can never gain life ever again. I hate Screaming Nemesis. You can mark me down as a hater. Why does that card exist? Well, we are dead. There is no way about it. We can't gain life with a Momentum Breaker, and we can't kill the opponent, and we can't block. And so if the opponent has a single like spell, we just die, which kind of stinks. Go ahead, attack in. I don't think there's any way about this. Because like even if we block, it's gonna redirect the damage to our face. We could try and give the Predator indestructible lightning strike. Yeah, that's completely, that is the nail in the coffin. We cannot win. Can't gain life, can't block, can't, well, do just about anything. Screaming Nemesis. I hate this card. Why does it exist? Go ahead and wait till it blocks before we sacrifice. Don't good game me. I hate Screaming Nemesis. Card is disgusting. I feel like it should not have been printed, but alas, the opponent has the burst lightning anyways, and we die. 3-2. Alright. Can we keep going? Opponent goes first. Not great to see. We have a lot of hopeless nightmares. We need to draw like lands for this hand to work out, but we have some removal. Alright, Lush Portico. They're either domain or Selesnya tokens. Fountain Port makes it likely that they're tokens because they can sacrifice tokens to draw cards. So Selesnya token control, probably playing Beanstalk and Caretaker's Talent to draw cards, playing a lot of sweepers. There you go, Carrot Cake to make a token. We can get rid of the bunny with Hopeless Nightmare and Torch the Tower. Or sacking the Torch the Tower and we're sacking the Hopeless Nightmare to the Torch of the Tower, and then we can scry a bunch to try and set up the top of our deck. I guess we can wait until their turn just in case they want to use it. Though I guess this is the wrong play just in case they had a Fountain Port. They could have played the Fountain Port and then used its activated ability to sacrifice the bunny in response. Regardless, we get to scry some, so this will hopefully find us our 4th land drop. These don't seem very good into a deck that wants to just draw a bunch of cards and make a bunch of tokens. So I end up putting them to the bottom. Just want more forge-like cards to hopefully run away with the game. Torch of the Tower, yeah, can remove the small stuff, but probably not great to be going 1-for-1 with the card with their deck. So we'll go ahead and run out Forge. Hopefully they don't have removal. No ley line binding. I guess they had to have Soul Partition. Go ahead and swing in. Oh, my throat is starting to hurt from so much talking. Alright, they go ahead and make a token with Carrot Cake. I guess they didn't want to block with it, so that they can potentially play out a Caretaker's Talent and copy it and draw a card. See what they do. Children is nice for if they're drawing a bunch of cards, but also playing it out, just having it die to a sweeper sounds rough. Bloodghast seems kind of nice for this, because as long as it doesn't get exiled, but I guess Sunfall exists, so that's the real problem here. We can go ahead and play out the land. Are we going to play Shieldred, Bloodghast, and Hopeless Nightmare? I think we'll just get a bit of value out of Hopeless Nightmare while it seems like they are pinched. And then run out of Bloodghast. Not really great to be casting Bloodghast, but I think it's okay to cast one of them here. I just don't want to run out Shieldred and just watch it immediately die to whatever removal they have in hand. So if we can force some removal or a sweeper out of their hand with Bloodghast, we can potentially resolve Shieldred and have it stick for a turn or two. But yeah, we haven't put many creatures on board for any sort of sorcery speed removal or sweepers to be hit by. So if the opponent has any removal at all, it would be very easy for them just to like rip it off as soon as we play Shieldred. So trying to play around that a little. Maybe it's wrong. One hits another land drop. They make a token with Murex, which is interesting. Beza, ouch, that's gonna gain them quite a bit of life, which kind of annoying. Bloodghast can't block. We'll take a bit of damage, get a poison counter. We'll hold on to the land, I think, for the time being, so we can get back our Bloodghast. Could try and bait the opponent into blocking the blood. Like if the opponent blocks the Bloodghast, there's a reason to wait to play our Blackcleave Cliffs until post combat. The opponent does deduce what we're trying to make them do, and they block the Forge token instead. We'll just run out the land, so we can go ahead and potentially activate our Hopeless Nightmare. The audio. And we don't even have game sounds. This is just so tragic. I had to do the voiceover though, because the event went well. We are currently 3-2, or is it 3-2 or 4-2? So we can surpass this Selesnya deck. Will be on our way, but opponent really stuck on one green. Murex kind of coming back to bite them now. What do they have? Sunfall. Yuck. No, our Bloodghast is gone, and they have a 5/5. We can't get rid of that with Final Vengeance. We can just whip up the Restless Fence, animate it, and draw, discard away our Bloodghast. So if we can find a land, we can get back that Bloodghast for free, which is nice. Grab an Immerstrom Predator, which is nice as a flying attacker. We don't have anything to hit with Final Vengeance, so what does the opponent draw? They have 2 cards in hand. We have Bloodghast in the graveyard, so we just, even if we top deck a land, we're not like, oh my goodness. Beza for the life gain and card draw, and the 4/5. That feels awful. We go ahead and transform their incubator token. That's a 5/5. That's gonna hurt. Opponent thinking about how they want to block, I guess, before they attack. Go ahead and just swing in the 5/5. Towards the tower is interesting. We run out the Predator. I think I should wait until post. Okay, it doesn't matter because we're just gonna remove everything. They're tapped out. Don't think we need any more lands. Sure, we can get back Bloodghast, but we're also gonna be potentially drawing a land anyways, so go ahead, swing in with a 5/1 now that they don't have any blockers. We want to keep the Predator as a blocker. I don't think it matters. We can sacrifice that to tap this, and then we get a +1 counter and get to exile something. I don't think it matters what we exile. We'll just get rid of the Sunfall. 4/4 flyer. Is it gonna take us, or like get us all the way there? Time to find out. Opponent. This, I believe, whenever even when it attacks, I believe it adds the +1 counter. It's been forever since I played this card. It's from Call Time, but it got reprinted in Foundation, so. Enduring Innocence, that's a life-linking body, but we do have Torch of the Tower to get rid of it. They exile our Immerstrom Predator with Ride's End, which kind of is annoying. Looking at our cards, they go in with a 5/5, which is kind of bold. Our Forge is going to be absolutely massive. We get a Bloodghast. We can play Torch the Tower and get rid of their Enduring Innocence permanently. Thank you, Torch. And swing. Our Bloodghast has haste because they're less than 10 life. And they're down to 1. Play a land. What is the one card they have in hand? Opponent. It's a Caretaker's Talent. Okay, well that doesn't work well with the Incubator token, but they can pay 1 to draw a card. So that's what they do. They kind of need another Ride's End, I guess, but that doesn't even work. So it's gonna be tough for them to finish this one. Swing in. We can play our land. Go ahead and get back our other Bloodghast. We can activate our Restless Vents and make sure the opponent is dead. So get our Forge token, and that is GG. Alright, 4 and 2. You go first. And we finally see some Liliana. Opponent has the Gruul avatar, so it's very cool. We'll go ahead and keep this. We have removal into Liliana turn 3, which seems pretty good. So opponent plays a swamp. It is a Spiteful Hex Mage, so maybe they're playing Rakdos Sac, the older versions that have a lot of these 1-drop creatures. Playing a little bit more mid-rangey, and edicts in our version. So we'll get to see which Rakdos Sacrifice deck is better. Oh, nope. Opponent's playing Plains. They are actually playing Orzhov Pixie, most likely. So guess we'll just have to Liliana them. Alright, we can discard a land. We have our 4, so we should be able to play most of our cards. They discard Ossification, which is strange because that could have gotten rid of our Liliana. They play Arietta, but we can just get rid of that with Liliana. So that's kind of strange. We play a Fountain Port, sacrifice the Ariette, and then we'll play a FOMO, discard. I guess we can get rid of the Springs because we have our 4 lands, like I was saying. Another Momentum Breaker. Make them discard. And 3 cards in hand. And we have Liliana on the battlefield, so this might be Liliana of the Veil doing Liliana of the Veil things. Opportunistic Scavenger. Can they put another creature on board? If they can, we can just sacrifice Liliana and then play our other Liliana and make them sacrifice their second creature. So good spot. Lord Skitter. That's nice with the Scavenger, but they only got 1 creature, so our edicts are going to destroy them. We'll make them go ahead and sacrifice a creature with our Liliana. Go ahead and play the Forge. And it's looking good for us. We can play out the second Liliana next turn and then keep eating away at their hand while we just get to use Forge. We're also going to be increasing our speed, so eventually we can gain life with our Momentum Breakers. So Ossification, I guess they're getting rid of Fear of Missing Out, which I don't know if will matter, because we can just run out Liliana. Or I guess we'd play Momentum Breaker. Go ahead, first go to attacks. Oh wait, no. You know what I do? I sacrifice the token to Fountain Port to go ahead and draw a card. So we can maybe hit a land drop and then play the Momentum Breaker. We find a Bloodghast, that's fine. We can discard that to Liliana at some point and then get it back for free. But yeah, we have card draw in our Fountain Port. We have more edicts with the rest of our cards. Our opponent has double Lord Skitter's Blessings, but that 1 creature, you need a lot more than 1 creature against us, opponent. As say goodbye to it. I think we end up playing Liliana, forcing the sacrifice. And then I think I hold on to the land so we can discard the Bloodghast and then get it back next turn. Yes, I know, opponent. Welcome to Rakdos. I want to say I'm sorry, but I couldn't find the apologize one in time. So I just found greatness at any cost. I didn't realize the very top one of that second page was I do apologize. But yeah. Opponent, you're in for a fun time. We get to discard Bloodghast, and then we can play Momentum Breaker, make them sacrifice their Hex Mage, and then we can play Blackcleave Cliffs to get back our Bloodghast, and then we can play Fear of Missing Out to draw a card. I mess up the sequencing, but that's the dream play because then we get to draw a card and we play out all of our cards. Oh yeah, I remember what happens. The game freaks out. I get booted from the match. I'm like, okay, was that a win or a loss? I don't know. Doesn't seem to make much sense. I say I'll be right back. I restart my game, and when I restart my game, I'm booted back into the same game. So Arena really was testing me this day. I don't know what the heck happened, but yeah, it was a rough day. And then since I'm so distracted by the timer going down that I misplay, and instead of playing the Blackcleave Cliffs before the Fear of Missing Out, I discard it to the Fear of Missing Out. But it's still at 8, we're at 18, and we have an amazing board. So I think regardless of what happens here, we'll go ahead and win. But Disturbing Mirth will just draw some more cards. I think I actually had the win in my hand because I had the Slagstorm, but I didn't notice that. I was too distracted. I even discarded the Slagstorm, but that brings them down to 9. Oh wait, yeah, we still have the win. You know what? It doesn't matter. We had this game won very clearly. Arena tried to stop us, but here we are. All right, that puts us at 5-2. Opponent's name is a red player. I wonder if they're gonna play red. I forget what we were playing against at this point. You go first. This hand is nice. We have Hopeless Nightmare into Disturbing Mirth. Need to draw some more lands for the rest of our cards, but we also have Fear of Missing Out to try and draw cards, put a creature on board. And the Urabrask, Forge, and Shielders are some of the best at the top end of the deck. Let's see. Opponent, the brilliant red player. Very... Oh yeah, the game... I was worried that the game was messed up again, so I went ahead and restarted my game and came back to... I think the opponent just was taking long, but I was so scared of losing a game because Arena wasn't like on my end, Arena wasn't connected, that I ended up restarting my game. But it looks like the opponent was just taking a while because we play this Hopeless Nightmare and they start timing out. Oh boy. Okay, so we see an invasion of Arcavios into their graveyard, so we know that they're probably an Omniscience Reanimator deck. So we need to find that Immerstrom Predator quickly. These discard effects aren't going to be super good. Okay, we found it. This can exile cards from their graveyard, but can we get it down fast enough to go ahead and exile the Omniscience from their graveyard? And we also need another creature on the board to get the instant speed exile. So we have something to sacrifice and tap down our Immerstrom Predator at instant speed. Stock up is scary because they get to look at top 5, put 2 of them, any 2 ones that they need, so I suspect we'll be seeing Omniscience in the yard very soon. But they don't have it in their graveyard yet, so we don't need to run out the Predator yet. We could just run out the Fear of Missing Out and the Disturbing Mirth, or we can play Shieldred. But I think I like the Fear of Missing Out and Disturbing Mirth to turn through some more cards. We'll go Disturbing Mirth first, because then we get to draw more cards, so we have a little bit more of a decision in terms of what we discard. And then Fear of Missing Out, if we can get the Delirium assembled, we'll keep the Torch just in case it helps us. I kind of messed up that very first game against Azorius Omniscience Reanimator, because I didn't even try torching the Omniscience in response to their invasion. So that was my bad, but if the opponent has a counter spell in their hand, they still can counter the torch for free because of Omniscience. So opponent playing the Archaeologist. One thing I'm curious about at this particular moment, I believe, was I was thinking about, does the opponent play sweepers? So I went ahead and went to the, I don't know if it was this turn or the following turn, I went to the untapped GG stats page for Azorius Reanimator. It's actually the top according to their tier list for decks for best of one. And I looked at the deck list. They don't actually play a lot of sweepers. They're not playing Day of Judgment. I think only one of the lists was playing Temporary Lockdown. So we can feel pretty safe about just running out a bunch of creatures. I wait until post-combat to play anything out. Archaeologist is going to block the Phyrexian. Fine. Another Afar's Dispersal. Do they get the Omniscience? This will tell us whether or not we need to play out the Predator. There's an Omniscience in their graveyard, so we're going to have to play out Predator and then sacrifice the Forge token. Go ahead and tap the Predator. And boom, Graveyard Hate. Let's go. Make sure we exile the Omniscience. And we'll play out the land so we can run out more cards next turn. Down to 15. Do they have a response to the Predator? Play out Blast Zone and pass. Okay, well, one says nice. I have to say thanks back to them. We are. Yeah, play out Shieldred, and then we can play out Fear of Missing Out to get a free Shieldred trigger. And then we can't attack in with the Predator, just in case they have an instant speed way of getting it to the graveyard. I guess this is at the point where I start looking into whether or not they're playing sweepers, because I'm afraid of running out of a bunch of creatures and then just seeing a Day of Judgment. So, looking at the best of one listings on Untapped GG for Azorius Reanimate or Omniscience combo. Don't see any sweepers, so we go ahead and feel free to run out Shieldred and then Fear of Missing Out. We'll have a bunch of creatures on board, threatening win the following turn, and then we also have creatures to sacrifice the Predator to tap it at instant speed to exile cards from the opponent's graveyard at instant speed. I guess I was still looking. All right, Fear of Missing Out. We can discard the Torch. I know that we thought about, or I was thinking about keeping it for blowing up Omniscience Reanimated, but I think another body is better. We draw our card, gain some life. My throat is getting incredibly raspy. Forge trigger. Attack with everything but the Predator. And does the opponent have any responses? Moment of truth, so the opponent's digging. Will we see Omniscience go into the yard? Alright. Confounding Riddle, dig deeper. Go ahead to resolve. Opponent scoops it up. They don't have an answer to the Immerstrom Predator. GG. I'm kind of shocked that our Graveyard Hate worked. We are 6-2. Here we go. You go first. This is another pretty nice hand in terms of Hopeless Nightmare into Momentum Breaker. We have Slagstorm for if they're going wide. We don't have double red though for it though. Which is a little concerning. Again, I'm a little bit frazzled by almost losing that match because Arena kicked me out of it. So I think at this point, when the opponent is taking forever, I restart my game again because I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna lose on the our opportunity to go 7-2 because arena. So just make sure. I am surprised though that the Predator, I don't think it's good graveyard hate, so maybe maybe we should play something else instead for our graveyard hate, but it's graveyard hate that is synergistic. It is a little slow, but it is synergistic, and so that's why we're trying it out here. It's definitely one of the cards I was most questioning in terms of adding it. Here you go. I restarted the game. This is for all the marbles. We can hit 7 wins if we can manage to win this. And it's been a while since we've hit 7 wins. So it'd feel really good to be able to do it. Especially with a new brew of Rakdos Sacrifice. Looks like the opponent was working on their timer, so it probably wasn't us. It was probably them. Go ahead and play Hopeless Nightmare. A little confused. Oh, that green is from the map. Or like the board here. Opponent playing mono red, probably. Oh. Okay, they are Boros. Boros Auros or Boros aggro. We'll hold on to the Momentum Breaker. I could run it out and make them discard, but an Edict is really good into a deck that plays out few creatures and stacks them up, so I hold on to it so we have as much removal as possible. Opponent runs out of Manifold Mouse, we will very gladly blow that up with Momentum Breaker, and we'll hold on to Final Vengeance as removal for later. 3 mana. Another Manifold Mouse. Could just remove that on our turn, but I drew a land, and so my thought process was I can play out the Predator. If they get rid of it with Sheltered by Ghosts, then I hit them with the Final Vengeance, and we get back the Predator, and they waste their Shelter by Ghost. So that was the thought process. I guess I was also being sort of mana efficient in terms of I just didn't play 1 mana spell. So play out the Image from Predator. They play Shard Mage's Rescue, which feels like a bit of a waste of a hexproof spell in a deck that against a deck that has a lot of removal, such as ours, but a lot of ours are also edicts, so those don't target, so the hexproof is a little less relevant. Now this is scary. The opponent still has 2 mana open. It's a 4/5 double strike, so if they play Monstrous Rage, they'll get +3/+1, but they also get an additional pump from Ethereal Armor, so they'll get +4/+2, I think, and so that brings them all the way up to 8 power double striking, which makes us lose 16 life. So out of concern, I think we will block, though. If they have the Monstrous Rage anyways, they would have trampled over. So maybe that was not the best move, but alright. They still have 2 mana open, so they could have another Shard Mage's Rescue. So we'll just have to try and dig for more removal. Okay, Liliana the Veil works great. Momentum Breaker also works well for another Edict. So we have lots of removal in our future. I think we just keep that on top. The Fear of Missing Out also is kind of nice. Unfortunately, we cannot cast Liliana, so we'll just have to test whether or not they actually do have that hexproof thing. I sacrificed the Momentum Breaker. I think it would have been better to go for the Disturbing Mirth, but I don't do the Disturbing Mirth actually because I don't want to get rid of the Momentum Breaker off the top of my library. Because when you manifest red, you're going to pick one of the top 2 and then put one of them in your graveyard and put it on your battlefield. So that's why I don't go for the Disturbing Mirth. They do have the hexproof spell, so we're going to have to use our edicts next turn. Opponent, thankfully, very thankfully, does not have another massive pump spell, so we get to live at 8 life and then nuke their last creature, hopefully, with a edict. Boom. Get out of here. We did it. We got 7-2 with Rakdos Sacrifice, mid-range edicts. I don't know what you want to call it, but feels good. Let's see what we got for our 7 wins here. Come on. There we go. 500 gems, 3 packs, and 1 play-in point. I already have a pack, it looks like, so probably from completing some quest or something. So we'll go ahead and open up these packs and see what we got out of the cards. All right, what cards we got out of them? We'll open the Bloomburrow one first. All right, Fabled Passage. I already have full place of Fabled Passage, so a little bit redundant, but I do really like that art, and so it's nice to get it in that regard. And then Aether Drift, what did we get? Go ahead, reveal all. House Squad Heavy, really good in Goblins, Boommobile, and Getaway, Explosive Getaway. So yeah, maybe we'll have to check out Goblins with House Squad Heavy. It is a deck that I've heard good things about, so maybe we'll give that a go at some point, but really good for that, giving Goblins haste. And then Boommobile is a very interesting card. It's kind of a mana sink. If you get a lot of mana, you can do a bunch of damage, and it's a bit of a combo piece. There was an Izzet Artifacts deck from the Pro Tour that ended up playing this, and you can tutor up with the Birthing Pod for artifacts, and it works well with like Radiant Lotus. You make a bunch of mana, and then you pump it into the Boommobile and do a bunch of damage to your opponent's face. So yeah, that is another interesting card that maybe we'll have to try out. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Have a nice morning, evening, night, afternoon, wherever and whenever you're watching. Take care of yourself, and ciao.